Okay, welcome back. This is a Heel Talk segment, and I know, y'all. I've been away for a little minute here. I decided to take June off, and I threw out a bunch of different shorts for y'all just to keep all of that feeling that you wanted to still deliver it while I was gone. But as much as that I promote heel work and healing yourself and heel talk, I got to do it for myself as well. So your boy took June off, but we're back. It is July now, and part of this is I'm bringing some new people to the space as I always do. Because as I share with y'all, for the messages that I love to deliver and the messenger that I am, I also have amazing messengers I am blessed to have around me. So I decided today I wanted to do a little heel talk segment with this person that I recently met. And you already saw the Partners in Healing, Partners in Heart Work video about them. They have a segment show called T, and you heard the breakdown of what that represents. But I wanted to bring this individual back to the space to have just a little heel talk segment. And you know what the heel talk segment is about. It's about real, chill conversation and healing. And we bring them together and we create heel talk, y'all. So, of course, I have Ruth in the building. Thank you, Ruth, for joining me today on this heel talk segment. You know what we do in this one. We just having a heel talk chat, right? And part of this chat, I wanted to bring you to this space because I wanted to put a spotlight on the amazing work that you are doing with your segments and your shows, but also just the individual work that you're doing on yourself. So once again, thank you for being here. How you feeling today?
Absolutely. I'm feeling amazing, to be honest. I can't even complain. And half the time, complaining don't do no good anyway. So I'm always excited to be alive. So it's a good day.
For sure. And I mentioned earlier that like you use your storytelling from your personal experience, right, and share that with others. And I really feel like when you were introduced to me and I took on your show on TikTok, y'all. So gotta connect with Roof on TikTok on this one. It really like I found myself just really taking what you're saying in almost as a mini movie or a mini kind of like I don't know, just kind of like I don't want to say soap opera because it didn't feel that way, but it felt like this beautiful mini movie of someone just bearing their soul out and you're navigating this experience with them. That's how I feel like I'm walking with you. Like, oh, what's going to happen next when you get back? It's COVID. Right? I'm going through that
Absolutely.
with you, and that just speaks so much to the storyteller that you are, right? And obviously, you're reaching from your personal inflictions and impacts, right? So that's always
Yes.
special. But the way you just bring them across, and the way that how vulnerable and open you are, I guess first, before we jump into like just having another part of this conversation, what's giving you the power to do that?
Ooh, so what really gave me the power to do this is my last relationship is what actually gave me the power to say, you know what? I'm going to tell my story. I want to be able to help other people as well as just going through TikTok. If you look through social media, you see that so many people are hurting, so many people are breaking up, and they're like trying to figure out what am I going to do next? What happened? Was it me? Was it them? So I decided instead of sitting in my sorrows, I said, you know what? I'm going to use my platform to tell my story because people have always told me that there's people waiting for me. And since people are waiting for me, I felt like this was the right time to be able to start my story from beginning to where I am right now, where it was from when I was married to a man, and then I came into who I was, and then married to a woman, and then out of that and cheating and all these different things. I wanted to be able to just tell my story and just pray that it lands wherever it lands, however somebody receives it. I hope that they receive it with love and inspiration and know that they are not alone.
I love that, Ruth, because we talked before we recorded and I mentioned like I feel like there's a level of generation older age gap maybe that might not express themselves in this way, right? Like they're like, how are you telling your business, putting your business all out there, sharing all these, things that are so intimate to you and that person? I guess how I love what you said about the power piece. How did you navigate that? Right? Those thoughts, that voice that comes to us and be like, ah, no, pause on this one. I guess how'd you navigate that one?
So for me, I had to come to a place of I needed to hold myself accountable. I needed to hold myself accountable for the chaos that I created in so many people's lives, the accountability of not holding myself accountable when a conversation took place, being in an uncomfortable space and just running away from my problems instead of sitting in it, allowing myself to allow other people to dictate what was going on in my life. So I got tired. So as well as I I s- I had a moment of time where I needed a therapist. I literally talk about in one of my episodes that I had a broken pencil. I had a broken pencil in this toolbox. I had nothing else. And I needed help. I needed to navigate this life. I needed to be able to say, what can I do to be truthful to Ruth in order to be able to be truthful and be transparent with the people so they can really feel where I'm coming from and understand that, yes, you're getting a story. You're also getting a cliffhanger because I want you to understand that the story just doesn't end, but there's always something in that story that allows me to tell you what I have done. It's all about me. It's not about the other person. I never want it to be about the other person because they have their own story to tell, their own journey that they have to go through. But I just want to be able to tell my story.
And you see that is exactly, Ruth, why I wanted to bring you on some heel talk segment. I think what you're doing is so special, and you said truth a few times in terms of my truth, and I love how you also recognize like it's my truth. They're gonna have their own truth, right? And I think there's has to be some form of liberation
Absolutely.
with what you're doing, right? Because if I said, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and try what Ruth is doing here. Just attempt what you're doing, right? Man, I don't know I could do that. And I'm such an open, vulnerable person, right? And that's why that's why I asked you the first question was the power. Like, what are you tapping into here? But I also recognize just from our initial conversation and our conversations thus far that there's a bigger picture behind this, and that is your self healing. And man,
Absolutely.
self healing is such an amazing motivation, especially when you tap into it. And I feel like you tap into it really well right now. And because you said truth, it makes me think of something here. And that is the sacred work of telling the truth,
Yes,
right? There is a sacred work there. I guess
absolutely.
when you hear that, the sacred work of telling the truth, how does that resonate for you?
So for me, I used to lie a lot. I used to lie a lot and thought that I could get away with telling these stories just to get myself off the hook. And as I continue to move on through life and I continue to move on through relationships and knowing that I'm hurting the other person by not being truthful. And a lot of people say, well, if there's a way of being truthful and there's a way of not telling the entire truth. Well, for me, after my second marriage, I vowed two things to myself. I said I would always be truthful and I would never cheat again. So, truthful is something that I continually live by. And sometimes it hurts me, by telling somebody the truth. Some people aren't ready to receive the truth. Some people, and that's including me, I wasn't always ready to receive the truth. But as you hear these stories, how you hear these episodes, there is a lot of truth in that. And to be honest, like everything that you have seen and everything that other people will see, it's not even edited. I hit send. Once I'm done, I may add some music in the background or I may give some little bells and whistles, but I want the authenticness to be there because that's how I live in my truth. In order to give you the truth, I have to live in the truth and not edit anything and say I'm going to do it over again. So just living in my truth is it's just been just a thing of mine now, and it's liberating. It's freedom for me now. For these last few years it's been really freedom for me to be able to tell the truth, but also me sitting in it. Sometimes I wasn't able to sit in it, so the truth will set you free, and I'm at that point where yes, it is continually setting me free.
And I would have to say that's heel talk, right?
Yeah.
Let me put a little heel talk period on there for you. And I say that because like there's a mixture of things going on, what you're saying to me. There's the exploration of your own self-healing, right? There's the balance of what you share and keeping it as authentic as possible. So I'm going to share, I'm not going to edit this, right? There's a lot of individual, there's a lot of Roof. I'm going to do this for Roof, right?
Mhm.
But I want to also, you said something earlier too that it connected to the offering for others. And I feel like when I take in your segments, and I know you shared with me like other people taking in your segments, like the audience, building your audience and having more viewers who are coming through. And I feel like, where it becomes this singular offering for yourself, right? It's a self-offering. And you went ahead and like grabbed that into a like share basket. It's like, I'm gonna share this basket offering for everybody up in here,
Yeah.
and you gonna get some of this, you gonna get right. Because I think part of it is, and this is the beauty of what we do in our different shows and segments. We have conversations, we have moments. Even when I do my solo things, there might be something that someone is watching and it just resonates with them, right? And
Yeah.
they're like, I thought I was the only one who either went through that, right? Who face something like that, right? Because sometimes we get such in our own individual box where we think others ain't going through something similar in their own category. So in saying that, like, I love what you shared thus far, and I feel like with the heel talk segment and being able to like break down some just like thoughts with you. What is the biggest benefit beyond the self healing, right? Beyond being able to get your truth out.
Hmm.
And I know that you're a very spiritual person as well. What is it
Yes.
doing for those pieces, if I may ask?
Man, it's opening up for me. In the spiritual aspect, like it took a toll to where I cut my locks off. Like I wanted to be set free in that area. I had locks for 12 years. And what majority people know, when you have locks or just hair in general, it holds a lot of energy. My locks were holding a lot of energy, and I don't feel like I could really hear clearly. So for me cutting off my locks was me shedding away everything that I had going on within my life. And then being able to truly hear from God and just being having those quiet moments. Like I dream more now than I've ever dreamt before. And I tap into, for me, the Holy Spirit talks to me in different ways in a small whisper. And it just reminds me of things that maybe I need to talk to somebody, I need to forgive somebody, I need to apologize to somebody. But it also, for me, it allows me to really see the beauty of who Ruth is. A lot of people called me beautiful. And I was just like, oh, that's nice. And I used to call so many people beautiful. But when I cut my locks off, I really actually saw what they saw in me. I actually saw it in myself after so long. So it's done more for me than I could probably imagine. And I know it's going to continue to elevate for me and be able to just continue to grow and get on the other side, because the journey is a lifetime. It's not a short time, it's a long time, but also being able to recognize the things that you've done and being able to take a step back. And now I'm able to work on taking a step back and say, that may not have felt good to that person. So just being able to do that.
That sounds like a whole bag of clarity, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's beautiful, Ruth. I think, we all go on our individual paths and journeys, right? And sometimes it takes longer for us to hit some of that self-healing. And I feel it feels to me, and what I'm hearing from you and what I'm seeing, literally hearing from your segments, you're already on that journey. You've been on that journey of that self-healing. And I think a lot of times when we talk about healing and being able to find healing, and you mentioned a therapist, so big ups to you for locking in that therapist. I'm a big advocate of therapy and therapists in general, especially for our Black and Brown folks, right? Where we were very, um, and I'll speak for myself, very trained to be the opposite of going into therapy. Like, mom was therapy, grandma was therapy, church was therapy, right? There was all these different things that kind of like played the precedence in some of those spaces, right? But it wasn't until like I actually connected with a real therapist who was certified, who worked on these things and just, did some really great digging within me to help me discover why I needed to heal, right? And while I'm
Mhm.
saying this, Ruth, it makes me think of your journey, right? And the journey that you're on and the journey you still have, right? In front of you, there's a whole gang of journey there for you as well. And the beautiful part of it, right? We all go through our individual journeys in those paths and those trials and tribulations and those moments of clarity. I guess for you, and how far you've come. I think you were before we started recording, you were like, you're almost done. You might do it the season two, right? Like there's a lot moving, I guess kind of looking back, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, let's remove a few digits from the age. Let's say 5, 10 years from the age. What would that Ruth say to this Ruth?
You're crazy. You are crazy. Like, who would tell their story on social media? Me. Because I'm confident. I'm confident in this season that I'm in, that no one can tell me that I can't do this. I'm going to give you every reason why I can do this. The old Ruth would just spill her life out on social media. I did do that. And people were like, don't tell your business. Why are you telling your business about your relationships, things of that nature? But now I'm in a place to where I can actually tell these stories. So 5, 10 years ago, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I don't feel like I have the tools, first off, the confidence that I have now, and the support of my family and friends who are really rooting for me and who see the difference. Because if you look at episode 1 versus where I'm going, a lot of people have said like they see a totally different person. As I continue to
Yeah,
tell these stories, I'm stripping away, I'm letting go all of these things that held me bound. And before I don't think I would have been able to do that. I think I would have been scared or worried about always people pleasing and saying, what would my mother think? What would my sister think? What would the world think about me? Because this is out to the world. It's not even limited to a small group of people, it's to the world. So I
yeah.
want I want to be able to allow the world to really hear it. But yeah, I would have said I was crazy for doing it.
And I only ask that because, right, there's so many layers to us as individuals. There's the younger self, right? And there's
Mhm,
different pockets of time. I guess moving forward, there's a great MC artist by the name of Brother Ali. Love him, love Brother Ali. And he has a song where he's talking about writing a note to his future son kind of deal, right?
mhm.
And to kind of like give some gems and things like that. So I guess kind of similar thought here, and just this in our heel talk chat, right? Removing 5, 10 years is one thing. You are building momentum. You shared so much thus far. You really exposed a lot of your heart to others, which I think that's the beauty of your audience tapping in and saying, I want some of that, right?
Right.
There's a bigger picture, and I know that for you. There's the self healing that's happening in this beautiful space. I think as you shared, people are noticing from episode 1 to even episode 15. There's this change, and I agree because I can see your shoulders move, your body language was different, right? You at one video you had your locks. Next one, you did it, right? You seeing this transformational change. It's almost like the old school cards we used to play and we used to draw on them, and it would be a little person, a stick person dancing,
Yeah.
right? And we're kind of going through this thing. And when you're sharing everything, it makes me think like, okay, where does it go next? Right? Let's talk 5, 10 years forward. Let's say 15 years forward. What would this roof say to that roof, right? Knowing that roof is going to have 15 more years of healing, self-healing, sharing, maybe even more situations in their life that's going to create more things to share.
I to the future, Ruth.
Yeah.
Look back at the old Ruth and see in that era how you were actually able to stand tall. You were able to stand tall in the moment of standing in your truth and sharing it with the world. Now, if you were able to conquer the little giant, you can conquer the middle giant, and then you can conquer the giant. But knowing that anything and everything is possible, knowing that you limited yourself, but now you're limitless, the sky is just the limit.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one, with the skies being the limit. And almost like, I heard one time I heard a friend of mine saying that the skies is not the limit because a person has been on the moon. And that
Mhm.
always resonates with me as well. But I love what you shared there, Ruth, because, as I think of my own journey and I think of the platform that I have to share. I didn't have this in my younger years, right? And Ruth, you didn't notice because we didn't talk about this, but like before I was running camps, which was my career for many years, I was a big hip hop head. I had a record contract. I was pumping music out, right? It was everything I wanted, right? But then being a fatherless child, I was the 9-year old who said, I can't wait to be a dad,
Mm.
right? And once I had Adam Jr., I let go of that music, right? And that changed everything. Because if I went with music, I would have went a whole different direction. And why I share this, just speaking of just hearing, reflecting with you, kind of, hearing what you're sharing, what you have done thus far takes a lot of courage. And that's skill talk. You know that when we hear our people say, "Don't be telling." I used to be one of those. I used to tell my teens in my mentors program, "Stop posting all your business on there," right?
Yeah.
But I think the way you're approaching it is very informative, and I think that's the beautiful difference between like information that comes in an informative way
Hmm.
and conversation that is just conversation, right? It doesn't
Right.
feel any empty spaces in that brain or heart of the person, right? It's just conversation that rolls off their back like a turtle, where what you're providing is more than that. So I just want to say big ups to you for doing that, because
Thank
I
you.
really I appreciate it and I value what you're providing that space. And I think the beautiful thing of us having these platforms, as I was saying earlier on in my life, I didn't have that. What I had was music, and it took so many leaps and bounds to get to a record contract to even get my message out there. But now someone could just open up a TikTok account, YouTube account, get on their computer, phone, whatever, right? Record something, submit, and now they're out there in the world. Just like you shared, I guess we're at the towards the end of our segment here of Heal Talk. And this is not about tangible resources because everything you shared is a resource thus far.
Mhm.
But I would love to get your final thoughts and reflection. Everything we talked about, from your courage, from your will to transform, because you definitely transform, Ruth.
Yes.
Um, the cutting of the hair to sharing and sharing in such a tactful way, respectful way. You've been through a journey, and your self healing, is going to continue to go on. And I think you mentioned to me earlier too of the blessings of the different things that are coming in your life since you started this. So, kind of recapping and capturing everything we talked about in this Heal Talk segment, and would love to get your thoughts about just final thoughts on just everything we talked about. What is your Heal Talk final thought?
My final thought would be always be true to yourself, be true to the people that are around you, and know that it's okay to seek a therapist. It's okay to open up. Just because you don't feel like you can necessarily open up, there's a door that's waiting for you just to unlock the door. And once you unlock that door, just walk in, and I guarantee it will change your life forever.
Hey, and that's Heel Talk. Once again, that's a Heel Talk moment for Miss Ruth here. And I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming to this Heel Talk segment. You know I'm going to bring Ruth back to this space because this ain't it. This is not the last time you're seeing Ruth. And as you know, we do different Heel Talk segments throughout each month, depending on what we're feeling and the topic. And today I just really wanted to bring an amazing, vulnerable storyteller who is finding healing and sharing, not just for herself, but I do believe the community is healing as well with her. So thank you all for checking out this Heel Talk segment. You know that every week we come with some mental health minute or some Friday transformation. And for the month of July, we're going to be back at it. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And you know, I leave you with my last question. Who's helping you heal, y'all? Peace.